All right, good morning. This is Jeff Scott. It is Monday, the 19th of September. No one is on right now. I'm sure hoping that this tapes. Um, Today you have, as you can see on your screen here, the hands-on test for chapters 1 through 7. All right. So remember, I do want this thing uploaded to GitHub by the end of the day. That's 10 points for doing that. And it should be in your folder that you have for HOTS. All right. So let's take a look at this. You are writing a simple payroll system. Now, simple is in the eye of the beholder, so you may not agree, but it's supposed to look like this. So you'll notice you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 labels, and they should be as shown. They should have the text on there as shown, etc. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different text boxes. Out of those text boxes, those 11 text boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them are to be, 6 of them are to be read-only. All right. And when you put in the values for gross pay, lowest gross, highest gross, average gross, and total gross, those should all be formatted to currency. You don't have to format the hours worked or the hourly rate or the total employees. All right. So you have to use constants, and you'll notice those are for the constants for the names of the different departments. This is constant 1, and there's its value without the double quotes, of course. There's constant 2, and there's its value, again, without the double quotes. There's constant 3, and its value, all these again without the double quotes. Constant 4, value, constant 5, and value. So you should have 5 constants. One that says info technology with a value of info space technology, one that says web development with a value of web space development, one that says programming with a value of programming, one with accounting with a value of accounting, and one with shipping with a value of shipping. In addition, you should have constants, call this like minimum hours or something like that. These should all be in uppercase. It should have a value of 0. Maximum hours with a value of 84. Minimum hourly rate with a value of 0. Maximum hourly rate with a value of 99.99. This, I usually call mine max non-OT. That's the total number of hours, the maximum number of hours you can work without getting any overtime. And this I usually call OT rate with a value of 1.5. So if you work overtime, in other words, you get, all right, you get a value, you make time and a half. Now you must use try catch for the following. So the first name, last name, and department, these right here, these 3 fields cannot be empty. All right, I would recommend using the is present from page 213 in your Muroc book for that. That's the only thing you have to check for these 3. All right. First name and last name cannot be empty. Department name cannot be empty. All right. Now, I guess I lied. I didn't mean to, but I did. And that is, this can't be empty. This can't be empty. This must be one of those values. And believe me, when I run this, you should run the 2 upper on it for whatever you put in here, because I'm going to try typing in programming in lowercase. And if your program doesn't allow it, that's technically an error on your part. You say, I don't know how to do that, just Google C# 2 upper. All right. And then look at the example that's in W3 schools. Hours worked and hourly rate cannot be numeric. I'm sorry, cannot be empty. Hours worked and hourly rate cannot be empty. Hours worked and hourly rate must be numeric. Hours worked must be between, I think we said, what, 0 and 99 or something like that? 0 and 84. So that must be between 0 and 84. that must be between 0 and 99.99. Now, I'm in the middle of grading right now. I've got about half of yours graded. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, when I'm grading these, I do them in alphabetic order. I hope that by 9 o'clock this morning, I'll have everything graded. I do have some stuff that's been graded. It just has not been put in the grade book yet. All right. So when we look at this, that's pretty much it as far as what's listed in there. And again, I would suggest you use the generic Muroc error handlers that are on page 213 rather than writing them yourself. There are some program runs in here. You'll notice that if it's my first employee and I put in John Smith, and John works 40 hours and makes 20 bucks an hour, he makes 800 bucks. All right, no overtime. He's the first employee, so he's the lowest, the highest, the average, and the total. So now we've got one employee in there who made 800 bucks. Then we get Mary Jones, and she worked 20 hours and made $20 an hour. So that's 400 bucks. We now have two employees. Mary's becomes the lowest gross. The highest is still 800. All right, the average 400 plus 800 is 1200 divided by 2 is 600, and 400 plus 800 is 1200. Finally, if we look one more time, here's some error messages. All right, so here's if we put nothing in there. Here's some more error messages. If we put nothing in there for department, and more error messages if we put values in there. Yours don't necessarily have to look like mine, but I would recommend using the exception.message. You don't have to worry about type of. You can print that out if you want. You don't have to worry about stack trace. You can if you want. All right. You can print out your own message if you want. Or what I've done here is I printed out the system message, then my own message, and I've got my own title. Here's one where the hourly rate is out of range and you can see the message. Now, here is the grading. If you don't save this to your HOTS folder, you're going to lose points. If you save it to your HOTS folder, you'll gain points. Since there's only one problem in here, if you set up your accept button and your cancel button, you get 1 point. If you set up the tab order, I put here naturally. What does that mean? That means I would recommend setting it up like this: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. If I did that too fast, I'd recommend starting with all of your input fields. So that'll be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then for 5, 6, and 7, have it set to your buttons. Then for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, set it to all your read-only text boxes. And then the rest, do these, and then do these. If you do that, you get another point. Set the Windows start position to center screen. That's another point. Use variable names and method names that make sense. All right. Have a prologue at the beginning. There's a point. And as it says, if necessary, just come up to the top here and key, just highlight all of this. Right there. And then pull out what you don't think is real relevant. And that's a point. If you put some code in there, if you're declaring variables or whatever, feel free to put a comment or two in there. Change the name of the form from Form 1 to FRM Employees. Change the form text. So the form text, if your name is John Smith, it should be John Smith, AWD1000 hands-on-test, number 3, problem number 1, employees, something like that. All right, so this is the rubric for the rest of the grading then. You must modularize. The button should have as little code. So these buttons, the calculate button, the clear button, and the exit button should have as little code in them as possible. That should not be anything new to any of you. I showed you this in the examples last week. So the exit button should call some kind of a routine. I call mine usually exit program or not. And then you can copy that information in. The clear button should call a routine. I usually call mine clear fields and set focus. So what should the exit do? It should ask the user if they want to exit. And if they do, it should allow them to exit. What should the clear button do? It should clear just these 5 fields, not these 5, but just these 6. So it should clear first name, last name, accounting, hours worked, hourly rate, gross pay, and it should set the focus to first name. All right. And again, I'm hoping that by now this stuff is just making sense to you. If it doesn't, it is your responsibility to email me. I will be online. I will be online for the entire period today. All right. When I say online, it means I'm here. All right. And I'm available to answer questions. In addition, all right, I've got a class this afternoon from noon to 4. All right. After that, I've got lessons that I take on Mondays. So from 6:30 to 10, I will be around the computer. Feel free to email me. All right. So use modularization. That's 10 points. Correctly use exception handling, including try catch, and writing different routines. That's 15 points. Setting up these read-only text boxes. There are, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just make them read only. So set read only in your properties window. The program contains at least all of the constants that are shown, and they're done in uppercase format. That's 5 points. The program accepts the first name, last name, department, hours worked, and hourly rate, and handles any and all bad inputs. And again, I gave you some examples. That's 10 points. The program calculates and displays gross pay correctly, including overtime. I'm going to quickly give you an example of that. I don't know if I put one in here or not, so let me check. I did not, so I will show you one in just a moment. All right. Program displays all output in the desired format. All read-only text boxes should be in currency format. So again, gross pay there should be currency. Total employees should be not currency, it's just an integer. Lowest gross, highest gross, average gross, and total gross should all be in currency format. The entire program should run without syntax errors or warnings. Another 5 points. Program correctly keeps track of all totals and all running totals and displays them as shown. 15 points. Now I want to very quickly, and I mean very quickly, all right, I want to change my share here because I'm just about finished with you. All right, so if somebody works, so if the hours worked is 50, so if they work 50 hours and their hourly rate is $20 an hour, all right, well, if they worked, if the hours worked is 40, you already saw this, and the hourly rate is 20, all right, then their gross is equal to the hours times the rate. In other words, 40 times 20 or 800. On the other hand, if they work 50, they're entitled to 10 hours of overtime. All right, so that gross is going to be different. There's different ways you can do this. I'm going to show you a way. So the gross equals 40 times 20. That's their straight time. Plus, you want to add to that 50 minus 40. All right, why? Because that's the number of overtime hours they have, times their rate, times the overtime rate. So what that means is, in that case, it will be what? 40 times 20, that's their straight time, plus 50 minus 40, which is 10, times their rate, which is 20, times the overtime rate, which is 1.5. So this ends up being 800, and we add to that 10 times 20, which is 200, plus 1.5, which makes 300. In other words, 1,100 is what their gross is. I will run it when I run your program. I will run it with this one. I will run it with 50 and 20. I will run it with 40 and 20, and probably a couple of other ones. Again, last thing, if you have any questions, I will be online until 11:45. I've got to leave a little bit early today. Sorry about that, but I do. All right, so let me stop sharing here, start a new share. The share that you are all going to see if you look on this. All right, in fact, you're not going to see anything because I'm going to stop taping in just a minute. All right, I will be online, and probably, at least I think, what you'll see is just page 1 of the test. Make this smaller so you can see all of it. All right. Again, any questions? jpscott@rankin.edu. Thank you for listening.